Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and start off with this. I already have like a Photoshop available. This is Photoshop CS5. I've got it long time ago. I really can't give you like any real ways to tell you how to get this other than purchasing the software. So that's the best one. What I'm going to show you is how to do this alpha channeling, alpha anything in order to get like emissive textures or anything to really glow for like mods or any kind of texture resources for Second Life. So this is the best that I can really give you. I hope you can like follow through with this. I am already pulling up a document here that I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to an emissive masking so that this can like glow in the dark, and it'll look really nice. So I've already got the mod set up and everything. I'm ready to go. I've done my texturing, and I'm going. Okay, well, what do I want to glow? So obviously I've got my areas here. That's called markings. I typically name all of my things that I want to do that I know that I want to glow, named as something like markings, tribals, anything like that. Typically, people who do these things, when they want to set up something to glow, it's much easier to like locate in all of this havoc of like your layers and stuff to know exactly what you're working with. So I'm gonna go ahead and just gonna fly through it. I'm not gonna make this a very long video. Um, so again, here I have my whole document set up, and before I do anything, I want to make sure that my image up here, my image mode, is set to normally it's 16 bits, but right now we're gonna just focus and stay on our 16-bit channel while we do this because I want my best resolution as I've got. So here I've got my markings layer, and in Photoshop, if you right click in the actual image of whatever you're doing, it'll give you these options. It'll say select pixels, no thumbnails, blah blah. We're only doing select pixels. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna select these, and as you can see, all the areas I want to light up are showing up. This was an error, so don't pay attention to that part. So what we're gonna do is that we've got our selection. We're gonna go ahead and go over to our channels. And as you can see, there's RGB, which stands for red, green, blue. Very easy to understand. And if you turn those off individually, it'll start changing colors. Now that's interesting. It kind of looks like a rave party, but you can have fun with that later. Right now, we're gonna go over to um, this little guy here, and we can either do one of two things. We can either make a new channel by doing this, or pressing Control Z, we can make an alpha channel that already does it for us if it's already selected. Now, for instance, you see that I have this issue here that I said ignore. Well, you can easily fix that. All you have to do is go over here to your alpha channel, click on it, double click on it, and make sure that everything is all set up in this way. If it's not, then it might be an issue later. So you can rename this channel to, I don't know, glowing markings. Easy as that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to RGB and turn that off. Now, see, my selection is still selected. In order to deselect that, you're going to press Control D as your shortcut, and you're going to zoom into the areas you don't want it to glow. I'm using the space bar and using my left click mouse to move around. Very easy to use here in Photoshop, but we're just kind of like going into this. Right now you want to set your actual foreground texture to whatever you're using as a black, or you can do it the vice versa way so that you can have a white and a black and it'll switch between the two. But right now we want black because this is what we're going to do is that we're going to make sure our brush is big enough and we're going to go over like the small little areas you don't want to like show up that's actually on the UV texture, and you're just going to clean them up a little bit. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to make my brush really big by pressing the bracket button on the right hand side, which makes it larger. The smaller one, do the vice versa. So we're going to make this really big, and we're just going to basically paint that black. Once you paint that black, what that means inside of Second Life is that it'll actually not show that area to glow once you do your emissive texturing. But right now we're just, again, going through the simple parts and procedures, not making this very long. As you can see here, there's still some areas that are doing this right here. You really don't have to worry about that because those areas are covered up naturally over by something else. So let's turn our layer back on because this is very important. You have to turn this back on before you can import anything. So once you turn your RG back on, you see that this area is black. that means that this will not glow when it's imported into Second Life as a texture. And you'll see that example once I'm done here. But you see that everything that I selected is the pink color is highlighted right here, and you can see a little bit of that blue to show that. Now some textures show up easier than others once you do the alpha masking, but this is the best way. The best way is just to select it and put it in. You could also, again, do the manual way if you wanted to just have a little bit of it glowing, like let's say the center piece and then the rest of it doesn't. You can easily manage that. But if you wanted to do it that way, we could. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep it the simple and easy way. You can do it manually, or you can just make a mask once you've automatically right-clicked and selected it. So again, whenever you want that specific texture to glow, you're going to go over, right-click on the actual image in your thumbnail, and do select pixels. And this will select all the pixels that are on that layer. So the subject, you're selecting your complete subject. So once you do that, we're going to go ahead and zoom out with Control minus, and we're just going to look around, make sure everything's okay. And then once we do that, here's the important part, and don't forget this because I've spent 2 days freaking out over this, and it didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. What we're going to do next real fast is that we're going to turn that back on. We're going to use this black because I just noticed that I have an issue right here. We're going to do this number here. There we go. And we're going to manually fix those little areas that we don't want to show up. Okay. So, anyway, manually doing that, you know now that everything's good, everything's fine. Go over to edit, go over to image, go to your mode, go to your 8 bits channel next. Make sure you click this because what this does next is what gives you your targa file. And if you don't do this, it will not save as a targa because if you automatically set it to 32, it's going to ask you to merge your layers and you don't want to merge those. So again, make sure that your mode is set to 8 bits when you do this because if you set it on 16 or 32, you can't save as targa. You have to have targa in order to do your actual glowing parts to any of your mods, your texture clothes, your anything, your objects. So once we go to that, we go to File, Save As, and it'll show up your folder where you're saving this mod. Here you have all of your doodads and your JPEGs and your PNGs and your BMPs and blah blah blah. This is the only one we're going to focus on. It's called Targa right here. I'm highlighted right over it. Click it. Save it as something that you'll know of. Like this one's called Castella Head. I call it emissive, so I know that it's emissive, and I don't want to go like Castella Head glowing. Does that mean the whole head glows? I mean, you could just be really on point with your stuff. And with the Windows naming system, you typically can just do underscores, or you can do, you know, hashtags or well, not hashtags, excuse me. This little guy, the minus sign, but I typically do the underscore, so I keep, you know, it just looks cleaner, so I'm not like following along the lines. So I've got my texture named, I'm pressing save. Once I figure out that my alpha channels is on, this has to be on. If this is not on, there is a problem. Make sure that it is checked on. Press save. 32 bits right here. Don't press compress, just keep it at 32 bits. Don't save it as anything else. 32 bits is all you need. Press OK. Let's go down to this guy. So, I've got my head out, and I'm ready to put this in. So, I rezzed out an object already so that I could easily do this. So I can just locally add this in. I've got my quick access here that'll show me places. And we're going to go right to the actual folder it's located in, or it's already there for you since you were doing it. And I've got all my textures here, and I've got my emissive texture right here. It says Targa, obviously. So you're going to go to Open, and it's going to show up in your local textures. This does not cost me anything. Using local textures lets me see it in world still and allows me to mess with the file, and every time I update it, every time I update the file, I press save on the actual image while I'm working on it, it updates in world at the same time, and it doesn't cost me a single linden. So we're going to press OK now that we have it in, and look, that's how it's going to look right now, but don't fear, your actual textures will show up once I show you how to do this. So you can see that's in world, but nobody else can see it except you. So we're going to go right click, and we're going to go to select face. Now, because I'm only doing just the head itself, there's no eye textures on here. What I'm going to do next is that on my select face in my edit window, I'm just going to go ahead, select one side, and I'm going to press shift left click on the other one. And what this does is that it automatically selects the other side so that it applies to both sides and I don't have to do it individually. Once that's done, we press the texture window again, we go to local, click on your texture. Now, oh God, what's going on? You're wondering what the hell happened, and you're just gonna say, that's fine, press OK, no panicking, because here's how you're gonna fix that. You're gonna go over here to alpha mode. Very important you go to alpha mode. And you press on emissive mask. Oh my God, look what happened. It's on. Oh no, it's not glowing. Well, guess what? This is what you do. Full bright it. Then you're going to set your glow to something probably ridiculous, like, I don't know, 10, 20. Bam. Look at that. Now it's glowing. You can obviously see that it is glowing because it looks like headlights. So we're going to turn this down personally for me because you can just put in a value of 0.5 and it still looks really nice. Now you ask, what happens if I tint it? Well, this is what's going to happen if you want to make tinting tattoos, and we're just going to set that to, let's say, this blue. That's what happens if you try and tint it when it's got the emissive mask right now. The whole thing will tint. So whenever you're doing your emissive masking for something that's combined on the same texture layer, this is what happens. So we're going to cancel that and turn that off. And we're just going to make sure that, it's applied everywhere, which again, it has. It's on the back of the head. It's very subtle right here. And that's what I wanted. We don't have a problem right now with this tattoo, and it looks absolutely great. So you notice that when I was messing with the nose area, that the little bit was in there. Well, if I had kept that little blue bit, that would have been glowing. So I'm going to turn off my highlight there. You can see that it's all nice and clean. It goes right in. It's very nice. It doesn't show too much of an error. If you go into the mouth, because the mouth has a texture, you can see that sure the mouth looks like it's glowing, but we're gonna go ahead and go to our environment. We're gonna set this to midnight. Now that does show up as full bright, but if we don't have the full bright selected, it still glows. It's not as glowy, but it still glows in the middle of the night. It still gives that really cool look. And again, the mouth doesn't glow unless you manually set it to do that. So we're going to keep that off of full bright, but we're going to keep that. Let's say we wanted to put it back to 10. It's still pretty intense, still looks pink, still has most of its nice values, so on and so forth. So we're going to switch that back again to 0.5, and we're going to, again, look around. Okay, everything looks pretty good. You can clean up these little bits right here, obviously. You can clean them up, and you can just manually do that with a more blurry brush. Don't know how to call it. There's like the clean version that you can do here for your brushes, or you can go automatically to these little blurry bits right here, which has like this let's say we want to make another alpha over something else, and it looks like that. So it's very easy to use, and you can do that to make it a little bit more subtle around the areas. But we don't need that on this. We just need those parts. And again, you can just manually clean up by going here and using that. Let's say I wanted to do that. We can just make darker areas where it's not as intense, so on and so forth. So if I didn't want that part to glow, I could just easily do this guy. So there you go. That's how you do emissive masking after I spent about a day and a half and not a lot of hours of sleep to do this. Another big thing is that if you wanted to put emissive textures on the eyes, all you have to do is select face, make sure that you shift select those, and we go to the anomaly eyes that was made by Miro here on our Sugar Cult server. This happens a lot. And we can apply something. So let's say I know that these eyes are, let's do magenta. Let's have some fun with this. Now, that looks kind of funny, right? You don't see anything in there, it just looks like eyes. Well, here's how you do that. It's the same principle. So just select one, set that to emissive mask. Select one, emissive mask. If you have them both selected, usually this guy won't show up. So if it doesn't, click on the ground, click on back on it, and then just set it to emissive masking. And then that guy will automatically light up like a Christmas tree. You can set it at the same value, but if you want to subdual, you can do 0.3. Still glows pretty nicely. 0.3, and then that can work. And there you go. Emissive masking. Huzzah! Just fucking works.